And good evening, everyone. Welcome to our seminar here at Lamond Riggs Library with International Master Oladapo Odu, straight out of Nigeria. He just got back a couple of weeks ago. So we're glad to have him here today at Mount Lamont Riggs Library. Without further ado, sponsored by the DC Chess Association, International Master Oladapo Odu.
All right, good evening, everyone. Yes, I'm from Nigeria, but I didn't just get back from Nigeria. I've been back for about a month now, maybe. Actually, I just got back from Florida, I think yesterday, for the Super Nationals. The Super Nationals is a scholastic tournament that is held every 4 years. So the last one that was held was, I think, 2017 or 2018, thereabout. The next one was supposed to be during COVID. Of course, you know what happened after that. So they just finished one in Orlando, Florida, where I was there to help out with a team from New York. You know, they called me to come and help coach the team, and we were able to win 2 sections. I think the the kindergarten section, and I think the 3rd graders. So it was a nice experience, because such tournaments you see thousands of kids like all over the USA, thousands of kids. Good experience, and you see so many parents there, supporting their kids. But today, I want us to talk about 2 things: material and time. 2 things: material and time. And those 2 things are very important, not just in chess, really, in everything. So when we talk about material and time in chess, we can give us an idea of what we're talking about. When we mention the 2 words, material and time, what are we talking about? What's the
pieces and the value of the pieces?
Right. Right.
Capturing.
Right. If we talk about material, we could look at the board and try to figure out who's better based on material wise. Based on material, we could say, oh, he's up 2 pawns, or he's up a piece, or he's up a knight. Pretty much just based on material. But there's another way we can look at the board and say, oh wow, this guy is way much better. Not because of the material, but because of the time. And what do I mean by time? The time he or she used in getting these pieces out. This is a very unique position. This is a very interesting position that talks about material and time. So I want us to take a guess. Looking at this position, what does anyone notice? This is a very good example of material and time. Does anybody notice anything in this position based on those 2, material and time?
Well, black has 2 extra pawns.
Black has 2 extra pawns?
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
1 extra pawn.
1 extra pawn. That's a very good observation. Black is up a pawn. So they have equal number of pieces, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
But black is up a pawn, right?
Yeah.
So material-wise, black is good, right? Do we agree with that? Yeah.
Well,
Yes, sir.
well, in White's case, they say that he's more of a developed, right?
Yeah, but we're talking about material right now. We're not talking about development. And yes, you are right. When we talk about material, black is up a pawn. When we talk about time, which is exactly what he just mentioned, we talk about development. How quick are you into the game? You understand? So, wow, somebody has done something. So, if we look on the board, we could tell that White is way ahead in development. Way ahead, like the gentleman just mentioned. White has key thing in this position for White that we should note is the fact that he's developed all his minor pieces. And what's the big deal about minor pieces? Your minor pieces are the most important pieces when it comes to the opening and the middle game. Your bishops and knights. So the way your bishops and knights go in the opening to the middle game is how your pieces are going to go, is how your game is going to go. So if we notice in the opening stroke the middle game, it's very hard to really use your rooks. Your rooks need open files. And of course, we don't want to throw the queen into the board, into a very busy board, because she could get trapped. We're going to be taking a lot of risk. So in this position, white has developed 4 of his minor pieces. I mean, all his minor pieces. But we can't say the same thing with the black pieces. So black still needs 1, 2, 3 moves. So in this position, white is up 3 tempi. 3 tempi. So it's like if your game of chess gets started and you're given 3 moves to win the game, can you do that? Yes, you can. You know, that's why we have the fool's mate, check, pawn push, queen move, bishop move, checkmate. So what I can say from this position is, at some point in time, black was able to capture a pawn somewhere, feeling very excited about the material he or she has, and neglecting the fact that he is way behind in development. So this already is an advantage for white, because, and the next question I'm going to ask us is, if you have a such position, I want us to suggest maybe 1 or 2 moves, maybe 2, 3 moves, just move suggestion. If you have the white pieces, what would you do in this position? Now, before we answer that question, you must understand the advantage you have, which is the time. Okay? So if you have this position as on the white side, what would be a good move for white?
Queen goes to D5.
Knight takes queen.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You would have given black a huge advantage.
Queen
game
goes
set
to
match.
Queen to B3.
B3, yes.
Queen b3 is an idea.
That's a threat, yeah.
It's a threat on f7.
Yeah.
Queen b3 is an idea. That's one move. Any other moves? Queen b3 is a possibility. Any other moves? I mean, yes, sir.
Knight, let's say knight, A from C3 on to D, A from C3 on to D5.
So what are you threatening? What's the threat?
Then black, I'm sorry, what's the name of it? Like, not the horse, but
The bishop?
not the
The
bishop.
knight?
But can the knight take your knight if he moves right there?
Yeah, the knight can take it. So that's why I asked him, what are you threatening? You see, that if you're going to make a move, there has to be a threat, because if there's no threat, I can completely ignore your move, like you never even made that move. So that's why I asked you, what are you trying to do? If you tell me, then I'm going to stop it. But if you can't come up with something, I mean, whatever reason, it doesn't matter, because there are no threats. So that's why I asked, what's the threat? If you move the knight to d5, remember, your advantage lies in the fact that you are ahead in development. So if you're ahead in development, how do you use it? What's the best way to exploit a lead in development? Does anybody know? Any guesses at all? That, you know? Yeah, you want to say something? If you're up development, okay, let me give you a typical example. You have a 5-on-3 fast break. How do you exploit that? You have a 5-on-3 advantage. How do you exploit that?
You pass the ball.
You go for a fast break.
back
Yeah,
and forth.
you take advantage of the fact that you have two extra.
Yeah.
So you go in for the attack. You go in. The 3 can't take you off 5. Yes, you want to say something?
I was thinking maybe you can move the knight
Right.
over to H4.
If you move the knight to H4, like I said, there has to be a threat. If you move the knight to H4, you're not attacking anything, but you stand the risk of losing a piece, because after the move G5, there's a double attack on your bishop on F4 and the knight on H4. You know, I don't want us to have an answer and then don't say it. There's no wrong or right answer. You know, I want us to, like, okay, if you have a lead in development, what do you do?
So, what about attacking the center?
Attacking the center. Okay, that's something. Whenever you're up in, you're ahead in development, you want to attack. You're up in development because you have more in the game than your opponent does, right? So that's why you need to initiate an attack. Queen b3 is a move. I'm going to come to you, bro. Queen b3 is one move. e5 is another move. So even before they set up their defense, you want to strike. So by the time you're already there, they don't know how to stop you. e5 is another possible. I'm not saying it's the best move, but these are possibilities to exploit. These guys are not set up here. You want to say something?
I had a question.
Sure.
So when you say you want to attack?
Yeah, when you're up, yeah.
When you make a move, should you still even try to attack, even though you might put some pieces in jeopardy and getting taken away? Is that
Well,
a risk?
if you're going to attack, the basis of an attack is to gain something. If you're attacking and you're losing pieces, then I don't know if you're really attacking. I think you're just giving. I think there are two different things. To just give pieces for free or to attack. You could sacrifice a piece, give up a piece, and get something bigger, right? Give up another piece or get a checkmate because you're already ahead in development. So if you're going to attack and you're losing pieces, then you're not really attacking. Yeah.
I still like the pawn in the center, attacking that pawn in the center.
Which move?
Like the E5.
Yeah, I like the E5. I like Queen B3 is also possible. Putting pressure on F7. I like those two moves. The point I'm just trying to make from this position, based on the material stroke time, is that's why we have the Queen's Gambit. Why do people play gambits? Why do we play gambit? To gain the time. You want to be ahead. I'm going to give you a pawn. You know, while you're grabbing up pawns, I'm getting all my pieces in the game. So by the time I get all my big guys in the game, you know, you're still busy grabbing pawns. Before your big guys come, I mean, I'll pretty much overpower the other guys that you have. Yes, sir.
So we're talking about development, and how important is it to connect the rooks?
How important is it to connect the rooks?
Is that like is that part of development? Is that important?
It's part of it. It's actually towards the tail end of developing the pieces. Connecting your rooks is pretty much between the opening and the middle game. Because this is the point. Even when your rooks are connected, they still cannot do anything if you don't have an open file. You can only have an open file when pawns have been exchanged. Pawns don't get exchanged until you don't get pawns exchanged in the very early part of the game. I mean, there are some situations. But most time, the pawns get exchanged in the later part, after you develop all your pieces, and then you create contact with the enemy position. You start to make some contact. So the more contacts you make, the more pawn exchanges you make, the more files appear on the board. With the files appear on the board, the more possibilities for your rooks. So if you don't have files, you can't get the rooks in the game, no matter how connected your rooks are. Your rooks are just connected so that they can keep an eye on each other on the rank. But when it comes to really getting to the game, the rook wants to go vertically. They want to go into the game, not just about their position. So when you're ahead in development, you want to attack. Queen B3 is a possibility. E5 is a possibility. For example, after the move E5, you have to take that. You have to take that. And then I can take, knight takes this. Knight takes this. I'm threatening to take on F7. So if you do this, right? What do I do here?
You got your I'm sorry, I don't want to call it the castle. I forgot the name. The rook.
Yeah.
That rook to take that piece.
Yeah, I could take with the rook on F. I could take with the rook on A.
I put it in check.
On A.
Yeah. So on A, right? Yeah. So if I have to use any of the rooks to take the queen, which one should I use?
But you still have the initiative to put it in check.
I know. I'm not talking about this right now.
Okay.
But I'm talking about if I have to make a capture with either of the rooks, which of the rooks should I use and
One on
why?
A. One on A.
Why the one on A?
Because
He's got no open
it's
line.
not doing anything.
It's not doing anything. The one right there is not doing anything either.
Yeah.
But why this? See, that is it. We have to know this. Why this rook? Yes.
That's about as protection. That's it. One on F. That's it yourself from protecting the king.
Actually, this rook is not protecting the king. It's suffocating the king. The king don't need this rook here. The king needs the rook out, doing something, not staying by the king. The rook's power is not in enclosed positions. No. Like I've said this before, the rook wants to run. The rook is like a sports car. So it's not going to be fun driving sports car within the city than when you get on the highway. There are two different things. So the rook staying close to the king is a nuisance to this king. The king don't need this rook here. A bishop or knight will do a better job than the rook. So I asked, which of these rooks do you want to use to capture the queen, right? Both of them are not doing anything. Yeah, I agree with that. This is on the close file. This is on the close file. But what you do is you move the rooks by files to see which of the rooks have the best possibility on each file. Let's move this rook to the B file. What's this rook doing on the B file? Is this rook doing anything on the B file?
No.
Nothing. Let's go to the C file. What is it doing on the C file? Is it doing anything? Okay, let's go to the D file. Is it doing anything?
You can actually get the king in check, right?
I can get a king in check. I'm going to come to that. I want us to pick this one at a time. So I could come here and the rook is looking good, right? Good.
But
So,
can you still move? I'm sorry. But can you
That's
still
fine.
move rook, the other rook to the same side? of you?
yes, we can. But see, the question is, which of them do we want to use the F rook to capture the queen, or do we want to use the A rook to capture the queen? Yes.
Also, another question, because I don't really see no immediate danger or anything significant if either you move that rook.
Okay, I like that. But that's what I'm about to show
But
you.
it's kind of the same thing.
I'm
Both
a-
of them in check. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I like that question. I'm about to show you. So the rook is doing nothing here. It's a close file, right? If I move the rook here, it's another close file, right? Nothing happening. Here, there's still nothing much happening here, right? So the best place I can put this rook is where? For now. Forget about that for now. What's the best place?
D anyway.
D, right? That's the best place. Let's start with this guy. If I move this guy here, is he doing anything here?
No.
No. Is this rook doing anything here?
No.
Not attacking. Not threatening.
He's not threatening anything. Is this an open file?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is open.
Semi-open.
Semi-open, thank you. Semi-open file. So, the best square for this rook, I mean, if this rook is here, and there's a knight there, and there's a king here, and we're like, this rook is not doing anything, then that means we forgot what an X-ray attack is. What's an X-ray attack? What's an X-ray attack?
The root another piece.
An X-ray attack is pretty much a piece attacking another piece, but a piece in between the two of them.
Yeah.
That's an X-ray attack. What's the big deal about X-ray attacks? In X-ray attacks, you have discovered attacks. And discovered attacks are deadly. So I have a rook on D1. I have a knight on D4, right? Then my opponent's king is on D8. Then my opponent has a queen somewhere on, let's say, A7. Let's picture that. Let's picture that. My rook is on D1, right? I'm going to set it up. I have a rook on D1, knight on D4. My opponent's king is on D8, and the queen is on A7. Let's picture that. I'm going to take all these off the board.
Wait, you took White's king off.
We don't need the white king.
Oh.
Yeah, we don't need the white king. So, what do we call this?
B-file.
Yeah. What do we call the rook, the knight, and the king? What do we call that?
X-ray attack.
That's an X-ray attack.
Oh.
So if I move this knight here,
You got check. and
what,
you
now
got-
what do we call this?
Checkmate.
A discovered attack. It's not a checkmate. So from the X-ray attack, right, came the discovered attack. Actually, I'm going to make it more interesting. I'm going to put this queen right. Let's see. I'm going to put this queen right here. I'm going to put this queen right here. Okay? This is an X-ray attack. So I have a choice of just winning the knight with a double attack, knight attacking the rook, rook attacking. Or I have a choice of moving the knight to F3. My rook is attacking the king, my knight is attacking the queen. So this is a discovered attack. When we talk about discovered attacks and X-ray attacks, they're like brothers, and they are like brothers pretty much. So in every X-ray attack, there is a deadly discovered attack. So why are we coming through all this? The position we had earlier, right, about where's the best square for the rook. We have a rook on F1, we have a pawn on G2, there's a pawn on F2, there's a pawn on, bishop is on F4, queen is on D8, king is on E8, we have a pawn on A2, there's a knight on C3, we have a pawn on A7, there's a bishop on C4, we have a pawn on B7, rook is on A8, bishop is on C8, there's a knight on F6, we have 3 pawns here, one here, and I think there might be one here. So there's a pawn on C7, there's a pawn on D6, we have a pawn on H2, our king is on G1, we have a pawn on B2, we have a rook on A1, this queen is off the board, we have a queen right there, and we have a pawn on E4. Was this the original position? Was this the original position? Right?
Yeah.
So we suggested E5, right?
Yeah.
So if it takes, we take with that. If it takes here, the question is, which of the rooks do we use to capture the queen on D1? Do you want to use the rook on A or the rook on F? This is how you solve the problem. The rook on F is not really, the rook on A here is not really doing anything, it's on the closed file. So if you move it to the next file, still close, you have a pawn there. If you move it to the next file, there are possibilities here. This is a semi-open file. How many pieces do we have on this file? 1, 2, 3 pieces with a pawn, right? So we have 4 things blocking on that file, right? So the rook there are possibilities here, right? Now, what if the rook gets to the D file? Are there any pieces here? So far, where's the best square for that rook? The D. We agree with that, right? So let's look at the other rook here. The rook on F. The rook is of course doing nothing here. Would the rook have something doing on this file?
That's right.
Absolutely. You know, this is a no-brainer. It's an X-ray attack. So now, it's like, let's assume it is white to play here, right? You want to move a rook to E1. Which of the rooks do you want to move? The F rook or the A rook? You want to move a rook to E1. The F rook or the A rook?
The F,
Why the F rook?
because you're gonna want the A on D.
Yeah, even if you don't want the A on D, if you make this small, what is this guy doing?
It's trapped.
Yeah, you're taking away from yourself.
Yeah.
So coming back to this move, Pastor Lockett said something. He said, after queen takes queen, he said, well, there's a bishop takes check. Yes, there is. So we have an in-between move here. We could actually do this check first, right? Maybe this king comes, now if the king comes anywhere here, we have rook takes check. This is just really bad. But what if the king goes to that square?
You take the knight over there. Oh, okay.
What if the king, now if we take the queen, right, there is knight takes. If bishop takes, there's king takes. We're going to lose a piece. We're going to lose a piece. Right, we don't want to lose a piece. But the fact is, in this position, after taking the queen, just take back with the rook. Now this threat is still there. If he takes here, we want to take here. What are we threatening? We're threatening to take the knight on F6, double the pawns, or take the pawn on C7. These guys are still yet to get in the game. So because of the lead in development that white has, white is easy for white to create some play to stop black from finishing this development. Okay, let's wow, that was a long. Let's do one more position. Let's do one more position.
You know that knight could have taken that queen also.
This knight?
Yeah.
He's going back.
That's a good question. I like that. I like that. So why would you want to use the knight that is already keeping an central square, move it back to D1 when you have other pieces that can take that square? This knight is already in the game. This rook is not. So if you have a chance of taking the queen, this is not an option at all. Unless if you take this queen, it's going to count for 2 queens, then that's fine. But if it doesn't, just moving the knight back is, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. So let's look at another position. This position is also something similar to what we just did. And it's still talking about time, material and time. But this time, there's a slight difference, and I want us to try to find out what is the difference between this position. We have a pawn on h7. The king is already castled here. Bishop is on e7. Pawn on d6, c7. Pawn on b6. Bishop is off the board. We have a knight on. Bishop is on g5. Knight on a5. Knight on c3. Bishop on d3. There's a pawn on c4. And knight is on f3. Queen is on d8. Queen on d1. The rooks are on c1 and e1. It is. Let's see. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So we have another position on the board. We have another position on the board. We're just talking about time and material. Material-wise, who's better here? Material-wise, who's better here?
You said the white is, you said 7 pieces. White
Black
has
is
7.
a pawn.
No, white has 6 pieces. Right?
Sorry?
Black has 6 pieces and the white has 7 pieces.
Yeah.
Is that just how I counted?
Yeah.
All right,
Pawns.
So who's up material-wise? Black has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pawns. White has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pawns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. White has 7 pawns as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So white,
Oh, black's down the bishop.
black's down the bishop.
Okay.
So who's up material here?
White.
White. All right. What about time-wise? Who's up here? White or black?
Black.
He canceled his king, so you haven't canceled your king yet, have you? And the white.
This king is not castled yet.
Oh,
So who's up time-wise? It looks even. I like that. It looks even. Let's see. We're going to break it down one after the other. What is black's most important piece? Black's most important piece. Pretty much, which of black pieces is black proud of? Like, wow, I like that piece. That piece is doing a good job. Which of those pieces? How many of them does black have?
Bishop.
Which bishop?
Bishop on E.
The one that doesn't have a movement. You're proud about that one? Can I change this with a pawn? So you're proud of this piece that, oh, I have a strong bishop that has no legs. It's just right there. It can't do anything. This can be a plus for you.
I would probably say either pawn or c7 or h7.
We're talking about pieces. Which of the pieces is black proud of? Pretty much, which of the pieces does black have that is doing anything at all?
The queen, I guess it would be.
What is the queen doing?
It's supporting the bishop.
I mean, you better be supporting your bishop. I mean, it's yours, right? So,
Well, yeah.
so what have you done that is a big deal?
It's kind of like they in a vulnerable spot. I mean,
Who's vulnerable?
I say the black is vulnerable because even if they move the knight, the bishop could take the knight. Or I'd probably say the knight on f6.
The knight on f6. You think this knight is doing something, right? Right? I mean, actually, I think this is the only piece that is really doing anything in this game. I mean, you're defending your bishop. Good for you. I mean, you better be doing something. Below. This is the thing. None of black pieces are doing anything active. When you're talking about active, right? Okay, let me put it this way. Which of black's pieces is a threat to the white position? Which of them?
None.
None of them.
None of them, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, which of white's pieces is a threat to black's position?
I mean, the bishop.
The bishop is
Five.
threatening to take the knight
But
and
it's
open that.
protected.
Right, bishop right there, bishop d3. He has a lot. So when I say who's better material-wise, white. Time-wise, it doesn't have to be black. It's still white. We're really trying to give black something, but black is in no position for us to say black is doing a good job. No, you're not black. And even to worst case scenario, this knight is not well placed. Because the knight is not really doing much on the side of the board. You're not really doing anything here. It looks like you're doing something, but you're not really doing anything much on the side of the board. So it's still black. It's still white. Now, if I change the position and I put a bishop on the board, right? I'm going to put a bishop on the board. Material-wise is even, right?
Yeah.
Time-wise, who's better?
I don't see any particular advantage to
I
that.
don't know if it's time. He's just better.
Hmm?
Better. White's in better
Why is it better?
because his pieces. He's actually threatening.
The pieces are threatening.
They're just in better places.
Better places. Better places is the same thing as good development, which is the same thing as time. If you don't have, if your pieces are well developed, that means how did they get there? You didn't move them there in one move. No.
Right.
So for you to get there, you must have used your time well to get those positions.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm thinking black took at least 2 moves to get that
Where?
knight on a5. It's not good, but he took time.
If who takes time?
It took 2 moves.
Yeah.
He used time.
Yeah.
Poorly.
Okay, so I'm happy you said poorly. So that use time you have to gain from it. If you're losing, then it's like you didn't use it. It's like it worked against you. So if it's white to play here, what's a good move for white? If it is white to play here, what's a good move for white? After this, we're going to stop and play some games. Is white to play, what's a good move for white?
He wants to open up the. He has a castle. Sorry, the castle.
Why do you want to open up the? You can't. Why do you want to open up the castle? Like what gives you the idea that you have enough to open up the king's position? What gives you the idea? How many pieces do you have attacking that makes you think you can't do anything here?
Yeah.
I mean, he has 1, 2, 3 here. How many do you have that has any threat on this?
Oh, can we move that bishop? Take that pawn.
Which one? This?
That bishop.
You want to take it there?
Yeah.
You're gonna lose.
Oh yeah.
Well, wait a minute. What if I do knight takes?
What happens after the knight takes us?
Yeah.
That other bishop.
Out of groups of bishop.
Sorry?
Bishop e7.
Very good. There's bishop e7. Well, that was a very good idea. But I don't have to use the knight, I just use my king. And then you just give me a piece. But I like the fact you looked along that line. Now, let's look at this position, right? It is white to play. What do? You have this position, it's your turn to play.
Well, you got the knight trapped on the side of the board.
So what do you do about it?
You take advantage of that.
How?
Move the pawn up.
That's the right
Up
move.
to the.
That's the right move. Play the position. Don't play what's in here like, I want to do this. It's not about what you want to do. It's about what the position says you should do. So this is the right move. B4 pretty much traps the knight. That's it.
You got nowhere to go.
It traps the knight. It's not about any other thing, but when you see a piece that is not well placed, exploit it. Do something about that piece. If it is a king, exploit it. If you are ahead in development, always make sure you use your advantage. That's why in a game of chess, you have to be able to identify what your advantage is and how to go about using it. Because you could have 3, 4, 5 queens on the board and have no idea of what to do. If you don't have a plan, it doesn't really count for anything. It doesn't really count for anything. All right, we're going to stop here and we're going to do some games now. And I just felt I needed us to, have a feel about what the difference between time and material is, and why it's very important that in a game of chess, you don't want to run so far behind in developing your pieces. Time is going to work against you. So that's why some people are not so keen about taking gambits. You know, it's not all the gambits you want to grab. You know, there are some, when you grab the pawns, you know, you have to find a way to give them back so that you end up developing your pieces at a faster rate. But if you keep taking pawns and holding on to them, you know, somebody might get choked on those pawns. Okay.
Oh, snap.
That's about it.
Man, oh man. You know, once again, we want to thank everybody for coming today. We want to thank our International Master Adu for the seminar today on time and peace advantage. Amen. And we do want to say that they're doing the Anacostia River Festival.
Yeah, May 17th.
Was it May 17th?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Big Chit Chess Club and the International
huge
Master
festival.
Adu will be there for the festival. We also, on Sunday, we're at the Mixed Food Court on Rhode Island Avenue there in Brentwood, Maryland. What's that, 3029 or something like that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
just the MIXT on Rhode Island.
Right.
Yeah.
And we also want to thank the DC Chess Association and our president, Mark Rottenberg, for sponsoring this event here at the library today.
Yeah.
Thank you.